Driving directions on your phone? Oh no! That's not fun! Navigate hands-free with Apple CarPlay.
Welcome back to the Aftermarket Insider. This is Season 2, Episode 1. This podcast is taped to be aired on the 5th of March, 2021. And I'd like to welcome everybody back. I hope everybody's doing well. I'd have to begin by giving a big shout out to our sponsors and our friends over at Pioneer Car Electronics. Over the years, Pioneer has been a global leader in car electronics and a proud supporter of automotive enthusiast events everywhere, particularly Joe's Mini Bike Reunion. No matter what you drive, Pioneer has the gear to upgrade your ride so it sounds better and connects with the latest technology, including Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, and more. Hey, don't break up with your car. Upgrade it with Pioneer Car Electronics. For more information, check them out at pioneerelectronics.com. Well, everybody, it looks like 2021 is kicking off in a positive way. A couple of weeks ago, I just watched the Daytona 500 race in my old stomping grounds, Daytona Beach, Florida. There was actually people in the stands. There was some sense of normalcy returning. That was really cool to watch. The King of the Hammers event recently took place out here in California, which is the epic off-road race that takes place in Joshua Valley out here in Southern California. The guys at Ultra 4 Racing did an awesome event. They had a great turnout. The Ford Bronco had a nice rollout there. From what I heard, everybody had a good time. Everybody was safe. We've got NHRA on tap with the opening of the 2021 schedule tapping in, I believe it's Gainesville. The Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Nationals kicking off this season, and I believe John Force is ready to get back to action there as well. So we've got NHRA. We've got the folks from NASCAR active. I was on the phone with one of my friends and clients at Bonnier Motorsports, and Bonnier Motorsports, they already have their events slated for the Street Machine Nationals, the four-wheel and off-road jamborees, and we have the iconic West Coast events, Sand Sport Super Show and Off-Road Expos, which take place in Orange County and Pomona, respectively. All of those events are in full pursuit. There's no hesitation. So I'm liking what I'm hearing. I'm hoping that everything's good on your end. And if you're in the automotive aftermarket industry in any way, shape, or form, which I'm assuming you are if you're listening to this podcast, things are looking up. And I hope you can say the same. Look, it's not always just as easy as a few months going by and things changing. But from all my sources and from all the conversations that I've had of late, things are positive. So with all that said, we're looking forward to another banner year at the Aftermarket Insider. We've got some good guests that I'm hoping to have on pretty shortly. Wade Kawasaki, a name that most aftermarket industry folks remember, he has his own little Facebook deal where, Wade's an automotive personality. He goes to a lot of events, as I mentioned earlier, everything from the Power Tour event in the Street Machine Nationals or the Concourse, the Elegance, obviously SEMA. He's everywhere. He buys and sells a ton of different cars, and he's going to capture some of his escapades like many folks are online. And we're going to have Wade come on the show and talk to us a little bit about what he's up to. I also have hopes to have on Chuck Blum. Chuck Blum is a name that many of you folks probably are aware of as well. He was the head honcho at SEMA for the longest time and worked very early on with a lot of what you see currently at the SEMA show. Chuck goes back many years, and he's got some great relationships and great stories. He hasn't been feeling too well, so we're hoping when he's, back to feeling a little bit better, we'll be able to have him on the Aftermarket Insider podcast as well. With that said, if you guys and gals that may be listening have someone that you think would be good to have on as a guest, by all means, send us a note. You can check us out on our Facebook page, The Aftermarket Insider, or our website, theaftermarketinsider.com. I also like to thank Emmanuel Munda for all the efforts that you've made when we kicked off the podcast last year. And collectively, I think we've got a pretty good plan for this upcoming year. Tonight's podcast should be a good one. Returning is a guy that, when he shows up, everybody knows who he is. He's the man in black. His name is Bud Brutsman. Bud, in my view, single-handedly started and created and continues to lead anything that is automotive related that's on television or film. He heads up BCII, and I'm happy to have him on the podcast and have him as a returning guest. With that said, let's see if we can get Bud to join us on the podcast. Bud, are you with us?
Hey, thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me. Mundies, what's that? Mundeezy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Bud's referred to our producer, Emmanuel Munda of Mundeezy. I've always wondered how you say that. Anyways, you got to make that easier, Emmanual. But we're glad to have you, Bud.
Cool. You got to have a cool, you have to have a cool Instagram handle, Mundeezy. It comes out. It's fine. It's fine.
It works.
Yeah.
So you've continued to make your mark in the television and film automotive genre. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, how are things at BCII? Do you see a little bit of a positive change happening, Bud?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I see a positive change, but we really last year, it's been a year now, right? We're right in the middle, we're a year from the pandemic, right? We started talking about the 18th or the 8th or something like that. So it's almost been a year. We shut down for a little while, but we really kind of ramped right back up and started going to our big clients and our clients and talking about how we can reach out and tell people what's going on. So yeah, we had a bit of a dip, but it really wasn't that long, because it wasn't that long before I decided that I'm not going to let this hold me down. We're going to figure out what the regulations are and kind of go out and film and do our stuff. And I had a couple of huge projects. I mean, the problem with business like mine and like everybody's business, you just got to figure out, okay, so this is the current situation. How am I going to get it, not around it, but all right, tell me what the rules are, what your rules of traveling and regulations and masks and stuff like that. And we'll get into a couple of huge projects that I had that were just absolutely put on hold. I mean, really what happened, which is really unprecedented, is the world just kind of came to a stop. Just like, December 18th, like all businesses stopped, everybody go home, sit around, which is supposed to be for a couple of weeks. Huge companies globally just closed. You couldn't put accounting in, you can't pay your people. It was insane. I've never seen it. I remember I sat in my business, I can't remember if it was March 13th or March 15th or 16th, nobody there, all by myself, right in my big studio going, okay, this is so weird. There's nobody around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and even when, I'm in La Crescenta, not too far from, the Burbank offices and not too far from where you are. But yeah, there's that eerie feeling that was just so taxing that you lost a lot of the zeal, you lost a lot of the enthusiasm, and I too changed, but I wasn't stirring as big and as thick of a drink. You had a lot of people that you have not only under your employ, but you also have a lot of clients that need a lot of what we couldn't do. How did you get around that? How do you keep all your clients upbeat and positive while all these other stuff is falling down besides us?
Well, people really, and we'll talk about SEMA first, but people really look at me, I hope, as kind of a maverick and a leader. And I just contacted them all and said, hey, this is what we're going to have to do. And we started early on, with our mutual friends at SEMA, we started planning, okay, well, here's what the SEMA show is going to be. And then as that slowly starts going and the plan is deteriorating, then those plans actually fell to pieces. And then I came back up and said, okay, well, I'm still going to do the Battle of the Builders. And they're like, how? I don't understand. Well, you can't. I'm like, listen, we have to do something, right? I'm that guy. I'm kind of built for these wacky emergency Armageddon kind of crazy things. So I'm like, we have to do Battle of the Builders. This is what we're going to do, how we're going to plan it. And I put this whole thing together. And then, my dear friend Ira is like, this is all great, but you have no extra budget. You can't do anything. Okay. So then I had to go back to the drawing board. And, technically, because of a couple really big companies and really, it's really the fortitude, because what we wanted to do in Battle of the Builders is there was a lot of people that were building. And when everything hits the fan and everybody gets nervous, these builders are still working on the cars. And I was in contact with a lot of we're still building cars, or they spent a year and a half building a car leading up to the Battle of Builders. And now they have no place to showcase it. So I started communicating with all the builders early on and saying, we're still going to have this. So finish your car. I'm not even kidding. It was the only phone call. Like I would call people like, you're the only person that's positive, like finish your car. I'll figure this out. And, I did that with, a couple hundred builders. Like, we're going to have a competition. Just if your car's finished or it's not finished, you need to finish it because we're going. And I remember calling Chip Foose early on, like, finish your car, like, finish it. Let's get it in there because we're going to put this on. Then I luckily have a lot of support inside SEMA, and we figured it out. And, we put the show on History Channel, just premiered, a couple of months ago, and it was awesome.
When I got the phone call from Ira, it was once you both had decided what the plan was going to be, and it was going to be taking place, and it was going to be something that, despite what we were hearing, we were going to make it happen. So I got tasked with calling up a lot of folks as well, myself and Mike Robledo, to try to pump that up. And that gave me a shot in the arm. It got me focused. It got me on a trail, got me on a mission. And I hope too that maybe I followed along with some of that acumen that you offered, which was, hey, look, we're doing this. And, I'm kind of used to doing that with you because we just recently did that with Saudi Arabia, where we had something that was quite a unique proposition that flew in the face of what most folks would look at as like a normal deal, right?
Joe, but you know me really well, right? We've known each other for close to 17 to 18 years. My attitude always is, don't worry, this is going to happen. We'll make it happen, right? And that's really the only way you can plow forward. A lot of obstacles. Saudi Arabia was a big one that we had to kind of overcome and get through. But this the global pandemic thing was kind of crazy. And you're right. We had double panic because there wasn't a lot of people signing up for Battle of the Builders. And I remember he said, I'm going to get my guys on the phone, and we were gathering people around at different things. And you got to look at what we would, trying to be a leader in media. You look at what American Idol and The Voice and all these other game shows are doing. I feel we figured it out really early on. Like, we're there in August and September going, wait a minute. No audience, no problem. Contestants, I got 12 of them, right? How are we going to make sure they don't interact? So I came up with things, how they interact, how they can judge, and how I can do that, keep them separate, make sure everybody's tested, make sure to do this, fly them all out here. Then one of the biggest things was pilot transport. Pilot transport stepped up, and I had a phone call with Joe from Pilot Transport, and I'm like, here's my problem. Here's what we're going to do. I need you to pick up 12 cars, and I don't know where they're at, because Joe still hasn't got like any tuners yet. Somehow Joe is going to call some guy with a tuner, and I don't know where they're at. But from the day that we chose, which were going to be the top 12, it was like 3 days, and then we had to get those in a line. And Pilot picked them all up and drug them all here to LA, dropped them off. I mean, like clockwork, right on time. Dropped them all off, unloaded them, and we loaded them into the studio. It was genius.
And with Joe, we're talking about Joe Parks from Pilot. With Joe, let's face it, it isn't like, hey, pick up this Camaro and, I'm buying it in Texas, send it to me in Florida. These are some of the most unique one-off cars that guys have, so it isn't like this is just sending a box somewhere. This is taking and transporting on the drop of a dime some of the most one-off cars that have ever been built. And it's nice to have that confidence in those partners, because I remember calling folks, they were curious about who was going to pick it up. They're curious about how it's going to get loaded, how it's going to get unloaded. And they would have much have preferred, many of them, to have done it themselves. But to your point, we were all trying to do this with no budget. So we didn't have a budget that we could give guys a little bit of extra accommodations. Okay, we'll pick up your gas, or we'll pick up your hotel, or we'll pick up your meals. None of those were available. So making it happen was really cool. And as I understood it, you got all the finalists here to LA, and you actually were able to do some live filming, weren't you?
Oh yeah, no, we did all the live filming. We got them to LA, put them up in hotel rooms, got them tested on site. Then we brought them down, and we did all the live filming. We rented a huge warehouse. We kind of made our whole thing. And for me, my message is always, and everybody thinks I'm nuts, which is perfectly fine. You can if you want, but my message to SEMA, who's our clients, like, you have to be forward thinking. You can't just be dark for a year, right? So one of our biggest media spectacles is this Battle of the Builders thing, and there's a lot of people. All those people were thanking us, thanking you and thanking me. It's like, hey, listen, this is a crappy year, and you guys somehow in the middle of all this pulled this Battle of the Builders things off and made us feel good, and there's something to look forward to. And we were responsible for the single piece of media that came out of SEMA that year in 2020. We did it. We pulled it off. And Chris Kirsting and Ira and everybody's like, I don't know how you talked us into it, which, by the way, everybody says to me, but it worked. It was on the air, got great ratings. It's really good, and I was happy. It was down there it was good.
Well, that's why you're their go-to guy, and rightfully so. I wish you further success with the Battle of the Builders. I'm anxious to continue on and remain a part of the SEMA Young Guns. I think the plan is to see how these next few months come to play, and then either go back to going to events and courting young gun potential builders to participate, or for that matter, go back to what we did last year. We'll still do a little bit of, some of the evaluations online through Zoom. Either way, I'm really anxious and hopeful and positive that we'll all be together at SEMA this year. And I'm hoping that as the next few weeks and months come around, that'll be even more obvious, because it's been too long. The car shows that I go to locally, they're starting to kind of get a little bit of sense of normalcy, and people aren't coming out. I'm liking that.
People are over it. People are over it, right? Done. Wear your mask, get your vaccine. You can't shut the world down for 2 straight years. I mean, we followed, some advice and some non-advice and stuff like that, but people are done. You're not going to keep us down. You're not going to keep us away from our hobbies and what we love and what we appreciate. I mean, I really don't care what you think this is going to happen, but I mean, let's keep people safe. And luckily, most of the elderly and people at risk right now have been vaccinated. I know 7 or 8 million or 10 million people in LA have been vaccinated, or whatever the number is. I think it's like 7 million in California, or whatever it is. But it's good. Let's keep the elderly and the people at risk safe. And let's go back with our life, because that's positive. Because with the mental aspect of just cooking up in your house and not doing anything and not having interactions, way worse than getting the flu.
Without a doubt. And, that's the reason why we actually focused on the Aftermarket Insider podcast. It was around maybe May or June last year where we were really starting to get into that point where it's like, this is a mental funk. Unless you reached out to someone and made a point to do that, there could be weeks on end where you really wouldn't be talking to people because business was shut. So I thought about doing the podcast, and I thought about it again, and ultimately we started it. And I have to admit that I got to a point where although we started it and we had a nice kickoff, I got into a funk. I didn't really feel that a lot of what we were trying to do with the podcast had much relevance in light of all the serious things that were going on. I even delayed some of the airings of the Joe's Mini Bike Reunion podcast, which is another podcast that we do for those folks who may not know. And I just got to that place where, I needed to pause. I was talking to my kid about it because she had asked. She pretends she's interested. And I told her that I wasn't feeling it. And she goes, well, that's all the more reason why you should do it. Because there's people that are out there that are feeling the same. And if they're into mini bikes, it's going to be something they can look forward to. And if you like your podcast for the aftermarket, and there's going to be people out there that want to hear about it. So I thought about that. That was last week or so. And here we are back at it. So sometimes, a little spark. Yeah. Look, I want to get into the big announcement that took place recently with Discovery Plus. Discovery Plus, I believe, is something that you can now opt in. Everybody's got a plus. It started with ESPN Plus. It's Discovery Plus, and everyone has a plus, every network. So you pay a little bit extra money. Maybe it's an extra $2 or $3, and you have access to not only some new programming, but maybe some behind the scenes stuff and some unique style programming. The information that we got was that, hey, Bud's got something going on. He's got a big announcement. So we were anxious to hear about it. And it came out yesterday. It's the Expedition Back to the Future. It launches on Discovery Plus on Monday, March the 15th. Yep. You serve as the executive producer or the show. And I'll ask you essentially what the executive producer is. I'm not sure. Is that where you bring the money, or you tell everybody what to do?
Yeah, both, by the way. So I had, I tell everybody to do, regardless if I bring the money or not. That's just kind of my role. No, I created the show. My role, usually I create the shows, or I partner with people who create the shows, and I take them around and I sell them, and I find the financing, and then kind of make sure the show runs all the way through. So, I've been the boss of all my shows for, 100 years. It's just what I do.
Somebody's got it, right?
Yeah, someone's got a kind of a creating driving force behind it. But yeah, I couldn't tell you what executive producer does, but apparently I'm responsible for everything. So that's good.
But this one, Bud's got a little bit more of a Hollywood power feel to it. When you see Christopher Lloyd and you hear Michael J. Fox, and obviously the others, Leah Thompson, and the many other folks that are on board. But there's something about that Back to the Future brand that fascinates folks. I admitted earlier that I hadn't really been one of those people. Obviously, I'm aware of it. I've seen the first one, but what is it that people really find so intriguing about Back to the Future? I mean, it's got the 3 movies that are out there. You've got this show coming up. Everybody talks about the car, but is there something that you're aware of that I'm not?
That's a loaded question. Yeah, there's a bunch of shit that I'm aware of you're not. But as far as Back to the Future, I mean, it is an amazing, amazing movie. Right? It's one of the most perfect movies. It's a time travel movie. It's a love story. It's a father-son. It's honestly one of the most perfect pieces of cinema that was ever written. Right? And you look at like Bob Zemeckis, who directed it. Steven Spielberg produced it. Bob Gale co-wrote it with Robert Zemeckis. It was also at the height of Marty McFly and Michael J. Fox is his who he was as an actor. So I don't know. It's hard to describe why everybody's so fanatic about it, and it's in that era of Star Wars, right? It's sci-fi. It's got sci-fi greatness. It's got amazing lines. It's campy. It's fun. I don't know. There's just so many good things about it. And I've always been a fan. My mom was a huge fan of Back to the Future. And I really didn't fall in love it until I sat down amongst the creators and the people and Bob Gales and Christopher Lloyd, these people, and started to really kind of dive into it and figure it out. And the fans are crazy. I mean, good crazy, but they're just wearing T-shirts and they cosplay and they turn the regular cars into time machines, and it's insane. It's a lifestyle. I can't believe you of all people. I'm not sure why you think you were so cool. Maybe it's a New York thing, but I can't believe you're not a Back to the Future fan.
But I haven't seen Star Wars either. So look, I'm not an accurate gauge. I get that, but there's things that I pick up on. Like I know that it had a little bit of a preview on what was to come. Whether you take a look at what 3D movies that they talked about, they had drones that they talked about, they had mind control, voice activated tech. A lot of the things that they did back then during that movie actually did come to fruition. So I see why the techies would really like it. I like Michael J. Fox. I grew up watching Family Ties, and unfortunately, I recently saw a picture of Justine Bateman. But anyways, Michael J. Fox.
It wasn't that bad. No way. I saw the same picture. She looked great. Justine Bateman wasn't that bad. She's great.
Yeah. Okay. But Michael J. Fox, he was in my living room. I mean, I sweated through some of those episodes where he was having, he was growing up. It was like watching him. You can relate to it. I was devastated when I found out that guy had Parkinson's disease. It was as if somebody in your family member had taken it on, and it was tragic. And to watch him, I mean, here's somebody that had the world by the balls, right? He was the most recognizable. Everybody loved him. He's on a popular TV show. He was making movies. Have you met him? Do you know him? Obviously, what can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I've spent some time with Michael. I wouldn't say that I know him, but I've spent some time with Michael. We during the filming of our series, it's a pretty amazing venture that we went on. But I can at least, I can't tell you much until you watch the show. But I've definitely spent some time with Michael, and he's amazing. I mean, listen, I think that the Parkinson thing is he's handled it so well. If you read his recent book, right? So if anybody can handle it, he can. And what he's done with this foundation, it's really kind of the emphasis of why, one of the reasons why I decided to start the show and how I was going to pay homage to Michael and what we were going to do. And you'll see throughout the show, this whole thing is really kind of pointing towards Michael and his struggles and what he's doing and how he's changing the face of Parkinson's and stuff like that. He's definitely an amazing man. He's unstoppable, honestly.
Yeah, you get that positive attitude from him. And another person that I've always been so fond of and admired is Muhammad Ali. And watching him as he got a little bit older and how he dealt with Parkinson. Everybody remembers the time when he lit the lights at the Olympics. That was, those are diseases that happen to some of the best people out there. If you're interested and you'd like to make a donation, it's the michaeljfox.org site. I visited it earlier, and it's, he's hoping that the website becomes obsolete and that ultimately there does become some kind of a cure for Parkinson's disease. All of us, unfortunately, have probably known someone who's been affected by it. Hey, but back to the exciting part of all of this. We've got a trailer that we recently got our hands on from Cynthia, your staff. I wonder, Bud, if we could maybe play that trailer for a second and then bounce back and talk about it. Emmanuel, let's fire that up.
I need you to help me find this car from this photo and get it to Michael.
This is for Michael.
So is that a yes?
All right, I'm in.
Yes! Josh Gates and Christopher Lloyd.
I do, please.
Oh, that's Christopher Lloyd.
You got a real attitude problem, Gates. Slackers. There wasn't just one car. There were 7.
We got to figure out where the other 6 cars are. Can you do a quick search on your phone?
Yeah. What numbers do you want me to push?
Oh, boy. This is the letter that Marty writes to Doc. The plutonium! You telling me this sucker's nuclear? You ready to hit the road and get this thing to Michael?
Roads, well, we're going, we don't.
It doesn't fly, Chris.
Oh, well, then we definitely need roads.
Yeah, okay. Here we go.
I don't mind, but you better promise me I'll be back in time.
Hey, you want to hear my Doc Brown impression?
No.
Marty!
Hi.
See, that's got to make you smile, right? I mean, Josh Gates is so amazing, but Christopher Lloyd's timing and his, I don't know, who he is and what he does, it's amazing to hang out with Christopher Lloyd.
When he whips out the old phone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the other guy, Josh, there's a familiar face. Where do I know him from?
Oh, what? Dude, who hurt you? I'm confused. What is wrong with you?
I'm
Never watched a
sorry.
lot of
I'm
games.
so sorry.
Undies. What? Can I just talk to him? I mean, come on.
Oh, really? I've seen him on a couple of the expeditions. He's like one of these hosts. I don't. It's not like he's been around for a long time.
I can understand you having your head up your ass in '76 and '85 when the movies came out, but you don't know who Josh Gates is?
No, I honestly I don't. Fill me in.
All right, Josh Gates is amazing, and actually, him and our history guys go back a while because he. So Josh Gates started on the Travel Channel. Him and I did some work on the Travel Channel together, but he was on Travel Channel with a show called Expedition Unknown, and then I did a super extreme expedition to Mount Everest. And he came in and he was doing all the voiceover work on that, and that was 2015, something like that, 2016. We did that together. And then his show, when Discovery Channel bought Scripps, which was HGTV and Travel Channel, they bought another whole other group of channels. Discovery Channel grabbed him off of Travel Channel, and his show just blew up. I mean, he is basically the face of Discovery Channel. You can't. Expedition Unknown's an amazing show. If you want to be educated and don't want to sit there like a couch potato, you want to tickle your brain a little bit and learn some things. I'm not accusing you that of Joe. I'm just
no, I understand that. Yes.
Yeah. It's not reruns of Family Ties by any means. You have to like watch and learn.
When I first saw him, I thought he was the host of the American Ninja Warrior. So I'm getting closer, but no.
Matt Eisman, do you think he's Matt Eisman? I'm going to tell him that. I'm going to say like this guy thinks you're the host of.
But I do remember the travel episodes that he hosted, and that's it. I don't profess to know about all these shows, but he works well.
He's amazing.
There was an immediate, even his impression at the end. Sometimes they just don't work. He works. He's going to be good.
Well, here, hold on.
Shows well.
The interesting thing you'll see, and it's actually half the show, is this interaction between Josh Gates, this real life host, and Christopher Lloyd, and their friendship and their bond. And I said it earlier today, but kind of their love affair of like how they kind of banter back and forth. It's like, it's the coolest thing to see.
It seems natural too.
They're friends. Yeah, they're friends. And Chris he'll take a little bit of it, and then you'll bag on me, and then he'll bag back. It's great. Their interaction's amazing. So you got to watch, how they play each other, and because Josh is when I sold the show to Discovery Channel, Josh contacted him and said, I want to be the host. I want to be a part of this. I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. I want to be a part of it. And I'm like, well, I didn't count on that, honestly. It's okay. Let's rejigger things and try to figure things out. And then it just ended up being kind of the best chemistry we could possibly have, because a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the storytelling, a lot of the VO driven stuff. And then Chris just gets to be Chris, and he gets to be, the character actor he's always has been, which is like stealing the show with one-liners. And it was amazing.
Yeah. There's, I know Joe Rogan asked Dana for the job that he had. He wanted to announce UFC and, open up a few eyes, and people thought about it. And it was a good deal. Sometimes people that ask for the order, it's awkward, but they're not the right guys. It seems like that wasn't the case here with Josh.
No, he's perfect. And he's working. He's in a consummate professional, worked his ass off on the show. So it was great. It was great to work with him.
But the original DeLorean that was, I guess, identified as the main car, that's the one that's still in the Peterson Museum. Is that correct?
Yeah, the A car, which is really the picture car. So in movie lingo, the A car is always the picture car. It's never the stunt car. It's not the one they blow up. It's not they do insert cars or whatever. It's the A car. They kind of keep pristine for all the pretty shots. That one is sitting at the Peterson.
Okay. And your travels over these 4 feature episodes that are, again, airing on Discovery Plus starting in March. Your escapades take you, LA, Houston, New York, Orlando, all in search of
Boston. Left out Boston.
Boston, okay. Boston too. Are there any other places or any other cities that I may have missed?
No, you just missed Boston.
Okay, so set us up. What's the deal? We're out looking for the other cars that were used for the filming of the shows?
Yeah, the show kind of based around looking for all the screen used vehicles, right? Because Josh Gates, it's in the thing. They believe that they have to find one of the screen used vehicles to restore and give it back to Michael J. Fox for his foundation, right? And that is the kind of the whole premise of the whole show, right?
Got it. We find we auction it off, and the money goes to Michael.
Yeah, we auction it. The idea premise is we find the screen used vehicle, and then we're going to auction off and then give it to Michael, right? That's the premise of the whole entire show, which you get from the trailer, right? Because these screen used vehicles, not to you, because you wouldn't pay anything for it, but Mundy's over here, that guy would sell his soul, right? Yes, he would sell his soul to get his hand on a screen used. If you're a super fan, right? You get a screen used DeLorean. So, I mean, along the way, we get to learn stuff about movie making and DeLoreans and where they're at and with stuff like that. So it's a pretty amazing journey.
What kind of insider info can you give us for those folks that are listening about some of the things that happen on film that maybe we won't see? Is there anything you can break off for us?
Not this early, no. I mean, March 15th. I mean, we're pretty close to it. I mean, doing these interviews this close to the premiere, I don't want to give anything up. I mean, the honest answer is, working with Christopher Lloyd and creating the show. So Christopher Lloyd was my co-creator of the show. I had to drive to his house up in Santa Barbara 3 or 4 times. We had lunch on the beach, which is just, I mean, Mondays, imagine that, right? So I'm having I got to drive up there. I'm pitching him a show. He's at this table and we're on the beach and we're just it's my life is so weird. So I'm just sitting there talking to Christopher Lloyd about Taxi and about Cuckoo's Nest and his career and how he got started. And I pitch him this show and he starts talking about, I've always wondered what happened to all the DeLoreans. And we started having these conversations. So, a lot of the creative came out of what Christopher and I did. And then when we made our deal, we kind of bonded. This is a very funny story. We kind of bonded over cars a little bit, which is what we always try to do. It's always the go-to thing, right? You bond over cars. So I remember very clearly, but this is actually, it's a great story. And I got one photo. I never take photos ever in my entire life. I take photos of celebrities, right? It's just like a horrible thing for me to do. But I did it for Chris and I. So I picked him up in my 356 Speedster. I picked him up at his hotel on Sunset Boulevard, and we were going to go to Discovery Channel for a pitch. So I surprised him because we bonded over cars, and he used to have a green 1962 356 Speedster, and he loved it. Like, he drove that Speedster from New York to LA to come out here to be an actor, and like a week later he was on Taxi. So he loved that Speedster. So I have one, so I picked him up in mine. I picked him on Sunset Boulevard. I go, get in. So then we are on Sunset Boulevard, cruise down. We go down to the office of Discovery Channel, pop out of the car, go have our meeting. And then I remember on Century Boulevard outside of Discovery Channel, I just lean up with a selfie and I'd take a picture of me and Doc Brown sitting in the passenger side. And we sold the show that day. I mean, it's just one of those cool, I don't know why I did it. I kind of did it for my brother and some other people and hey, you got to check this out. Christopher Lloyd's sitting in my car. We're going to go pitch a show together. It doesn't happen that often. It's cool.
Yeah, he's got that. He's just got that coolness to him. When you met with him, did you meet with him at his place or you guys go out somewhere?
No, there's a place up in Santa Barbara we met on the beach. Yeah, I didn't go to his house. Every time we met was up at a restaurant up there.
Yeah. There's a key element to this, which I'm sure would get everybody's heads going up and down when you're talking about getting them involved with this film. And hopefully it would be just the spirit behind the fact that it's going to be such a good opportunity to shed awareness on Parkinson's and research and promoting Michael's foundation and helping him out. This is really a good thing that you're doing, Bud. And it's a great idea that you had as well. I'm not surprised with your success in not only shopping it and getting the support, but also working with and going out there and making your mark with the folks that contribute on the acting end. This is going to be a good deal. We're really, really looking forward to it. So folks will have to be subscribers to the Discovery Channel, which they do through their local cable channel, correct? You call up a Spectrum or Charter and you pay the extra money and you get your Discovery Plus. Can you watch it online as well? How does it work?
So Discovery Plus, you sign up for Discovery Plus. It's a service, and you don't have to really call the Charter or anything like that. You actually can get it online. It's an OTT, which goes to your thing. Somebody show Grandpa how to do an OTT. Do you have Netflix, Joe?
I think I do. Is it like YouTube?
It's like, all right. So
I need to come over to your house and fix your TV.
No, I watched Netflix. I watched the Richard Ramirez story. That was scary, but
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, serial killer stuff. Well, when you're not trying to project watching serial killer stuff, I suggest you get Discovery Plus. And here's the thing about Discovery Plus, and the good thing about it, we've been doing a lot of promoting because there's like 55 or 56,000 hours of television, right? And I'm very proud to say I probably have 5,000 hours of that. I mean, I have so much stuff that's on Discovery Plus between my Everest Air, a lot of stuff I did on HGTV, all my stuff in the RV world. And then it's pretty much an honor for the heads of the networks to figure out, like, this is the next thing that's going to promote. We're going to take this series that we really produced for Discovery Linear Channel, which is on cable. You probably get that. Do you still have like rabbit ears on your TV? What do you have?
Look, I got a guy, you can get this, they call it a black box, and you get like this and all this other shit.
Right.
Look, I'm obviously playing up to this a little bit, but I have had folks ask me, like, I work with Roadkill, as you know. I help David with some sponsorships and some different things. And I watch Roadkill show, Motor Trend Plus. With Discovery Plus and everything else that's going on, it is a little bit confusing. It isn't just me. So I appreciate you clarifying things for us. Some folks may think you can just turn on the TV and watch it. Some folks don't realize that Discovery Plus is an upgrade. So shining a little bit of light for those folks doesn't hurt, because we want them all to watch. Did you feel like after the 4 of these episodes were done that you got everything in that you wanted to get in, or you always feel as if you could have used one more episode, or do you beat yourself up afterwards, Bud?
No, listen, I mean, my dear close friend always says, and I don't think it's negative, right? He says it out loud. So you're only as good as your customer allows you to be, right? And this show started out so much bigger, right? Because I'm a huge dreamer. We had 8 episodes, and there was so much more we could do, and so much more we could tell, and had the history of the DeLorean, right? But what's good about the EPs at Discovery Channel, they want you to cook it down to be the best. Like, what is the best, right? Because in the dichotomy here is good, right? Because Mundies would watch all 8 episodes because he'd be fascinated, right? Because it's part of his childhood, his life. Then
one night, yes,
yeah. Oh, he'd binge watch them. But the challenge is I got him. Now I have to figure out how to get you. And so now I got to cook it down to 4 episodes so everybody can watch it. No, I think what we ended up landing on was 4 amazing episodes. Discovery Plus, March 15th. You guys are going to be so surprised. And really what we try to do, it's important to talk about, is that we really, diving in, you kind of understand the fan base, and you get to understand the fan base and what an honor it is to be kind of playing with these characters and playing with their, everybody's childhood and all this stuff. So there are so many Easter eggs and landmines and cameos. I mean, you saw it in the trailer. We got Strickland, right? We got Strickland. And there was a famous line in Back to the Future, is like, doesn't that guy ever age, right? Because he looked the same when he was the principal for his dad as he was when he was for Marty. And he looked the same when I picked him up at the airport. He was 92 years old. I called him, and he didn't have an agent. He didn't have any. I just call him. I go, hey, James, do you want, I'm doing this thing. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And so he says he's going to do it. And he hangs up the phone. He calls me back. He's like, are you going to pay me? I'm like, yes, of course I'm going to pay you. I was like, all right, are you going to fly me out there? I'm like, yeah, but you got to wear a mask. This is right in the middle of COVID. You're like, you're 92, probably not a good age bracket for you to be flying across the country. But he was in New York. That guy was so professional, hit his lines, knew the deal. And then everything, you got a real attitude. Everything. Strickland was amazing. That guy's a legend.
Yeah. And that had to be pretty cool too, to be able to put a skip in that dude's step. In his 90s, probably sitting over there, probably thinking that maybe not, the phone's not going to ring anymore. Maybe the franchise, the brand, the Back to the Future deal was something that he thought may have been over. So how cool of a call that must have been to maybe get him back into the swing of things.
It's opposite. That guy put a skip in my step, right?
Oh, how
He
cool.
put a skip in your step.
Yeah.
That guy on time, hit his lines, didn't complain, doesn't want to do anything. He's so positive. You sit there and you look at our age, you're like, oh, we're aching, we're hurting, my bicep hurts. You're like, that guy's 92, right? The hell are you whining about? He's 92 and he's like working. Can you imagine? I mean, loving what you do, because he's a theater actor. His name's James Tolkien. He's a theater actor, loving what you do and just like, yeah, I'll go do that role and really get into it and reading the script. I mean, that's just awesome. I want to be doing what I love when I'm 92.
Yep. You were mentioning how there was a time when there was so much television being watched and you had a lot of properties that were going on. I think there was a period of time through the COVID shutdown where all I saw on TV was ridiculousness and overhauling. Isn't it really, isn't it cool to know that you had such a big footprint with such a popular show like Overhauling still to this day? I mean, do you ever get tired of that?
No, you can't get tired of it. This show's been on for 18 years. 18 years that show's been on, and it's all over the world. I mean, it's been canceled 3 or 4 times. We've gone through 3 or 4 different networks. That thing just keeps on coming back. And no, it's not, you hope to have a couple of those in your career that you can have that kind of impact. I'm blessed my family and it helps me with my career every single day. You can't get tired of it. I mean, no, I always wonder, and I used to wonder, is like, does James Taylor ever get tired of singing Fire and Rain? You're like, and then you kind of sit there and go, do I ever get tired of talking about Overhauling? No, 18 years, no way. And then every time they keep calling back. I mean, I just finished producing my last episode 12 months ago with Shaquille O'Neal, right? It's like, it just keeps on coming back. It's such it's a true format. Chip is an amazing talent. And it's a global property with 137, 138 episodes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I always tell you this because it remains true. One of my favorites has always been rides. You ever see that maybe coming back in any way, shape, or form, or who knows, right?
I'm trying to get them to put it on Discovery Plus platform. I'm telling them to put rides on there, because I think if now that people, it's not this voodoo, right? The beauty thing I like about streaming and Discovery Plus and stuff like that, you can be able to get real analytics. They can tell who's watching and when they're watching, how long they watch, right? In the past, I mean, I've lived my entire career off of what I consider voodoo, right? And voodoo is these Nielsen ratings.
Oh, please, yeah.
It's some mathematical equation of a percent. Some guy writes Overhauling down in a ledger, then 4 billion other people are watching it or whatever it is. What I like being in my position, being a custom content creator, is I get to see these, they'll know real life reaction, and the networks will know. They come back, and now Netflix will go like, hey, people are watching this. They're returning. They're binge watching. They're doing this. They're signing up and watching that first. I mean, that's what we were able to do on the Motortrend app with Overhauling. And then we did a show called Inside Overhauling, which is a very fun little couch show that I unfortunately was on, sitting there talking a lot of smack to everybody.
Yeah, people like that. Yeah, they love the behind the scenes stuff. You should do more of that, actually. Yeah, especially
I talk a lot of smack. It happens.
No, not you. What do you have coming down the pike? Anything you're excited to be maybe working on this coming year that you can share? Anything maybe in the
I sent it to
pipeline?
You. Yeah, so I sent it to you. So I just created a new show called Fully Torqued. It's gonna be on History Channel, and I sent you the photo. And what happens is, I was at this guy's shop here in the Valley, right? San Fernando Valley. I sent you here in the shop.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I'm like, I sent the photo to you. The guy's name's Bird, and he is Von Dutch's nephew, and he grew up with Von Dutch. And that mini bike that I sent you was built, pinstriped, and painted by Von Dutch. Yep. And he had the helmet to match. And it's still sitting there pristine. Like, I can bring it to your mini bike show. It's ridiculous. And I'm like, well, I talked to Bird, who's in his 60s now. I'm like, oh, so when did he make this for you? He's like, Oh, he made this for me when I was in the 70s. He built it when I was a kid. So your uncle's Von Dutch, and he builds you a custom candy painted pinstripe mini bike, and you're driving around. That's why I sent to you. So we're doing a show with him and this other guy named Steve Pasmani. We're building custom cars. You're doing 10 episodes. So I'm really excited about that. That's a big show.
I posted a picture that you shared with me on our Instagram page and our mini bike page. And everybody's wanting to know, where is that? Where can we see it? Is it for sale? Is this real? And it was, and that's kind of cool too, is to be able to turn people on. We're so spoiled out here. You could spend a week over at George Barris's, and then you could spend a week over at Von Dutch's grandson's place. We really have access to so many cool vehicles. And everybody was doing cars, but that's why I took the little niche with the mini bikes. You're welcome to not only help us get that mini bike to our show so that we can share that more. But as I told you before, I always hoped and dreamed of a time where there could be a mini bike show. When I see mini bikes pop up on some of these other show, American Pickers, everybody's in the community says, "Hey, did you see that little Indian mini bike in the backdrop of the last episode? How cool it would be," because I always thought it had the Americana, it had the collectability. It was in the 60s and the 70s, and those things were all cool. The cars, the music, the fashion. But I know that this mini bike was always such a small niche. It's tough to be able to go out there and expect to get support from a television producer or from a media company because it is such a niche. So I guess as we grow and our message gets a little bit wider and more people start to talk about their interest within mini bikes, maybe we'll have a chance to revisit that with you. And one day before we die, we'll have a reality show based on mini bikes, because I really think enough people like them and they're so cool and everybody can get into them. We'll save that for another conversation.
It's too bad you don't know any good television producers. You can.
I bug him every time I see him.
I'll send you my pitch deck after this conversation.
Mundies hits the street is what it's called.
Folks, look, I want to thank you for listening in. We've had the pleasure of having on Bud Brutsman. We are talking about the upcoming Discovery Plus special based around Back to the Future. Check it out on Discovery Plus. But any parting shots, anything else that we missed?
No, just watch the show. Tell me what you think. Put the trailer online if you can. If you need, hit our social media, our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, which is BCII Production, BCII Productions, on all the platforms. Check out the work we're doing. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
It was a blast. Once again, it debuts on March the 15th on Discovery Plus. And make it your density to watch. How do you like that, bud?
That was pretty good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you read the script. I like it.
Do we can. All right. Hey, I may be up in your neck of the woods tomorrow. I've got to drive out to Saugus to get a small engine cylinder head honed for one of these stupid, crazy mini bikes. I have an original Indian Papoose from 1969 that was owned by J.R. Granatelli. He immediately crashed it into a pit wall at Indy. It has 900 original miles on it, and we're rebuilding it for him now. I'll send you some pictures. But we've got fodder for a show. We've got fodder. We've got the event. We've got the cool bikes. We've got the personality. So when you're really bored, keep us in mind, bud.
All right.
All right. Bud Brutsman, folks. Thanks for being on the program.
All right.
Oh, that's always cool. Folks, hey, look, if you've had the chance to tell a friend about the Aftermarket Insider podcast, that would be cool. As we said, we seem to be getting back to some sense of normalcy here in the automotive industry. Check out your local calendar, go online, see if there's a car show happening near you. If you're anywhere near Jacksonville, Florida, you've got the Gator Nats popping up in a couple weeks. We're all looking forward to getting to the SEMA show soon. We talked about some upcoming guests that we have planned. Hopefully, Wade Kawasaki will join us on the next Aftermarket Insider podcast. We're going to try to keep the format to where we do one of these podcasts once every 2 weeks, and we'll take it from there. If you have any comments or suggestions or quips or quotes, send them in. I want to thank our sponsors from Pioneer once again. Emmanuel, thank you for all your good work. He's Mundeezy's over at D1 Productions. See, now I'm going to start calling you Mundeezy all the time.
Mundeezy, it's much better than, man, you got to do Mundeezy.
It works.
Yeah.
All right. And I want to thank my executive producer, my wife, Linda. And I'll be spending some time with her a little bit later on. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. And we'll see you on the next Aftermarket Insider.